Ik wil nu graag aandacht vragen voor Haneen Zoabi.
Thank you. You are so sorry that I will not speak in Dutch, and I'm so sorry that I will not speak in Arabic, so I will speak in English. I wish to thank you, all of you, for inviting me to this special ceremony in this special location. I am honored to speak in the memory of the victims of Kristallnacht and in the name of all victims of racism and persecution. I am honored to speak in the name of the Jewish resistance and in the name of all those who resist oppression during their lifetime. During Kristallnacht, thousands of businesses and hundreds of synagogues were ruined and burned by German brown shirts. Perhaps the majority of Germans didn't approve, but they kept quiet. When in Israel, 2 churches and tens of mosques are burned, and hundreds of Israeli supporters of Qatar shout death to the Arabs after each football match. When a family is burned to death, when a 15-year-old boy is burned to death, the majority keeps quiet, although they are perhaps shocked. Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Barakat, the Jerusalem mayor, called upon civilians to carry weapons and received full support for their request from Moshe Ya'alon, the Minister of Defense, and from Yuval Diskin, the previous head of the Israeli intelligence service. When Mr. Netanyahu calls the Jewish citizens to vote because, and I am quoting, the Arabs are racing to the ballot boxes. When Israel's Minister of Education, Mr. Bennett, declares, and I am quoting, that it is okay to kill Arabs, I am actually done so several times. When Mr. Lieberman says to use hatchet, the remarks indicate the central lesson from Kristallnacht has not been learned. Kristallnacht didn't suddenly fall from the sky, come out of nowhere. It was the result of a development over time. And we can see a similar development happening in Israel over the last several years. The quotes I just presented to you justify the use of violence towards Palestinians. Yet, the public keeps quiet. And slowly, step by step, the general public accepts what they hear day after day. The message is internalized until it becomes an accepted norm. I would like to present to you some data of a recent research carried out by the Israel Democracy Institute's annual Democracy Index. A majority of Israel's Jewish citizens agrees to place the Arab Palestinian citizens of the state under arrest in case of war with the Arab countries. The majority of the Israeli public believes that Jewish Zionist values are more important than democratic values. 55% disagree with equality for the Palestinian citizens inside Israel. It is easy to notice the gradual descent into a deep value that reminds us of the Germany during the 1930s. The demonization of the other, the justification of the use of force and the lack of response in the face of crimes are all reminiscent of what happened in Germany. 2 weeks ago, Haktom Zarhom, Eritrean refugee, was launched by a mob in the Beersheba Central Bus Station. The general public conceived of the event as a case of mistaken identity. The mob thought he was a Palestinian, means a terrorist, and not an innocent Jew. However, what is truly shocking is that the public wasn't shocked by the act itself, but by the mistake in identifying. Thus, if the victim had been a Palestinian, there would have been no problem at all. I can give you many more examples from which can be learned that the state of Israel is passing quickly through similar phases, so don't keep silent. It is not de facto racism. It is not de facto racism, but also de jure. What we are facing is a political culture which started with the very definition of the ideology of the state, which can be summarized in one sentence: to provide and guarantee privileges of the Jewish populations by means of 80 laws. 80 laws in Israel guarantee privileges to the Jews. Each law by itself is perhaps not so problematic. However, when one looks upon the total of these 80 laws and law amendments, one can but understand the seriousness of the situation. I would need a few hours to go over all the laws, and my time is limited, so let me give you just a small example. There is a law that enables civil lawsuits against anyone who calls for boycott. Boycotting is a peaceful tool of civil political struggle. Yet in Israel, the call for a boycott has been effectively silenced by the law. Or let me tell you about villages in Israel that have special admission committees in order to filter out Palestinian citizens who want to move there. Can you imagine a village in Holland? Can you imagine a village in Holland having an admission committee that allows the local villagers to prevent people, Jews for example, from coming to live there on the basis of ethnicity, race, or religion? In Israel, the police must record their investigations, but not in case of people who are suspected of security offenses. This creates an opportunity for abuse and even torture of suspects. And it is also legal to prevent suspects of security offenses to meet with their lawyers. The risk is great indeed. I can go on, but here is my last example. If you are married to a spouse from the Palestinian territories, you are not eligible for family reunification. Settlers who live in the territories and marry a spouse who live inside Israel don't experience that problem, but Palestinians do, because they are Palestinians. The question is, will we be able to stop this? Will we be able to learn Kristalnacht that we must not kill, that we must not be racist, and when faced with atrocities, we must not keep quiet. Otherwise, we become responsible. If you are silent in the face of racism, and discrimination, you are responsible. I am Haneen Zoabi. I am one of 120,000 Palestinians in Israel, which Israel didn't expel from their homeland in 1948. When Israel expelled 85% of my people in an ethnic cleansing and colonialist plan. And instead of recognizing this deep historical injustice and establishing a state based upon equality, justice, democracy, and human dignity, and live with equality with the Jews who immigrated to me. I didn't immigrate to my homeland. Israel must remember, it was Israel who immigrated to me. I didn't immigrate to my homeland. Instead of doing this, we live in a state which established itself upon the concept, and hear me, upon the concept of privileges to the Jews, reflecting a total misunderstanding of their own tragedy. What should be learned, what should be understood from the oppression, from the persecution, from the murder of the European Jews, is not to give privileges to the Jews, but to live in equality. One cannot face racism towards you by practicing racism towards others. In the contrary, one should face racism by seeking, demanding, and practicing equality and democracy and justice for all. This is so simple. We must learn justice from this disaster and from these tragedies. What I receive as a Palestinian is a state promoting what I receive as a Palestinian is a state promoting the belief that in order to compensate the Jews, I must suffer and I must experience racism similar, and we are not comparing, and there is no human reason to compare a suffer with a suffer. It is a suffer, and that I must suffer. As a Palestinian who has nothing to do with the racism that lit the Kristallnacht, I identify with the victims. And I am struggling their struggle. And Israel, after this de jure racism, and after establishing its ideology upon privileges to the Jews, went on and went one step further. It occupied my people in '67 in the West Bank and Gaza and East Jerusalem, conducting massive crimes against humanity, war crimes, confiscating land, building settlements, exposing people to the violence of the settlers, putting my people into a siege, preventing basic human rights, dignity and freedom. During the last Gaza war, Israel has killed 2,200 Palestinians, 500 children. And the killing hasn't stopped. Each day Palestinians are killed. So, yes, and they call me terrorist. Yes, this is the truth. They are killing us and they call us terrorists. Yes, exactly, this is the reality. This is our reality. They kill us and they call us terrorists. So, and I am speaking to human beings. I am speaking to human beings. What can we do? expect for struggling within the constraints of international law? What do you expect us to do? This is the least thing we can do as a human being. What other human reaction I can practice? Yet Israel is criminalizing precisely that type of struggle, which any one of you would undertake if faced with a similar situation, carrying the same harsh memory of Crystal Day. We call for a popular struggle. Yes, we call for a struggle within international law. And it is not a call for violence. It's a call for freedom. It's a call for justice, not for violence. And my last sentence. I call upon you not to be silent in the face of the grave crimes my people face, and not to be silent in the face of those people who also trying to silence you, the Dutch and the Europeans in general. Thank you.
Haneen, look at all the solidarity here for all the people who are present. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. We sluiten deze bijzondere Kristalnachtherdenking af met nog één mooi lied van Rob en Mark, oftewel het duo Smit en Vlaar. Ik ga jullie nu vast bedanken voor jullie enorme solidariteit en voor jullie massale aanwezigheid. Het heeft ons allemaal heel goed gedaan en het heeft vooral onze 3 prachtige sprekers ook heel erg goed gedaan. Dank jullie wel allemaal.
Boycott Israël.